everybody, and welcome to Paranormal Nation Radio. Not so normal, your regular what Tuesday night show. I'm losing track of days.
That's okay. I forgot today was Tuesday a little bit ago, and I'm like, this is Monday. No, I got, I wasn't, I wasn't really that coherent yesterday.
Well, that's the way with me. Yesterday was Monday, and I was like, "It's Monday." It don't. Yeah, it's Monday because I worked 9.5 hours yesterday. Yeah, it's Monday.
Yeah. Well, me not having a show last night probably didn't help things to keep things abnormal.
Yeah,
So,
that's all right.
but yep, I'm working on a lot of things and trying to get stuff together. And for those of you wondering, Ron and I made a huge decision. We are definitely moving. We are definitely, we got a lot of things in the works. We hope to be reporting to you live from the beach sometime soon.
How soon are we looking at?
Between July and September.
Oh, okay.
They'll give
Got
us
a few
time.
months.
Yeah, and it'll be fun. It'll be fun finding the right place. And I just found one that's calling my name. It says it's on Piper Circle.
Oh,
Yeah, how's that for a sign?
oh yeah.
So, but
And
yeah,
then
we've got
now
some.
you're gonna your job. You'll keep your job down there, right?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Me and Tyler will keep our jobs. Ron, Lauren, and Leah, if she decides to, they'll all have to have jobs. But we're thinking about possibly starting our own business. I think a power washing business would go over well down there. When you live outside, you get a lot of stuff that needs to be power washed.
Mm-hmm.
And at Hurricane, and all the places I'm looking at are not hurricane deterrent. There could still be hurricanes and crap, but it should never be a direct hit. So
No,
I'm smart. I know what to look for. So that's what we're working on.
I figured all the kids would end up going at the same time.
They are. That we're right. You know what? It's the alignment of the stars. Everything is just, this is the time. Everybody wants to go. And why not? We just get a house big enough and then they figure out where they want to live after that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not changing where I want to live. Like I said, I want to live within 30 minutes of Lindsay and Piper and Nolan, so that I can be a full-time grandma to all four of them.
Right. And that only leaves one kid that's still in Vegas, right?
Yep. And I think that once we all got moved, she would be there within a year.
Oh yeah. That gives you all the kids and all the grandbabies to grow
What's
up
that
together.
say about my family, though, that we all want to be together?
Can't get rid of them.
Yeah.
Hey, no, they did all move out. So it wasn't like they've been here this whole time. We're not having to sell our house to our kids to get them to that we can move out and they can have the house. Which is what happened to Ron's family.
Yeah.
The kids wouldn't leave, so they sold them the house and left.
Hey, sometimes that's what you got to do.
I know.
But no, like I said, I've been looking at houses. I found some more subdivisions and stuff like that. We're just trying to make some decisions on what we want to do, and even found airline tickets for less than $500 round trip, and if we have to fly down.
Right.
So we got all that sorted out, and even though I wasn't supposed to make any life-altering decisions yesterday.
Oh yeah, sure.
That's right.
Yeah.
But and like I was saying before to you privately, publicly, I'm going to tell everybody, Ron and I are not going to be going to the Haunting at the Mill in Pickens, South Carolina, and it has everything to do with us moving and some things that are going on with my health at the same time. So we're just going to deal with that later on. And you know what? We'll be we'll be like 6 hours closer to Pickens, and so next year maybe we can do it then.
Mm-hmm.
So I just got to do what's best for my family at this point, and
Right. Well, Nat, you got to take care of your health and get everything going in the right direction.
but in the meantime, how's Carl before we get to the guest?
Wore out and tired.
You still up there working?
Yes, underneath houses, putting PEX lines in, and oh, it's a nightmare.
Well, kerosene works.
Well, it
Well,
works
to
if.
be up there.
What's funny is we've got people that have moved from California to Missouri, live in a gigantic 2-story house, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
The furnace is 2 years old and they have not fired it up yet.
Really?
They're running electric heaters.
Oh, wow.
Do they not know how to use a furnace?
After I started replacing the lines going to the kitchen sink that blew out, that
Uh-huh.
froze, and bathroom, and then under the house there, replacing some lines and everything. I said, folks, you live in Missouri. Get used to the weather. When it gets cold, turn on your furnace.
Wow.
Yes.
Open the doors to the cabinets.
Man.
Well,
I said, I'm not
live
going
and
to
learn.
continue climbing underneath these houses.
Yeah, they got to figure it out.
Yeah,
So,
look where they came from. I mean,
well,
I mean, well, and then you got your regular people that's lived around here for a long time. That cold spell, I mean, it put 47 of the rental houses without water. And the big sixplex over in Cameron, it got evacuated because it got so cold that the water froze on the 3rd floor.
why didn't they have the water dripping? Why didn't they
The
think
guy
about-
was gone. The guy was gone. He's one of these guys that goes out and does the emergency relief things out on the East Coast with storms.
right?
He was gone. So it got so cold up there, it froze and busted one of the lines, which then flooded the 2nd floor, which flooded the 3rd floor. And when they flooded, they put out the pilot lights in the furnaces and ruined the furnaces.
Well,
So-
you know what? Hopefully there were some lessons learned here, and hopefully the pipes will be wrapped going forward.
They are.
And some
Well,
electric-
they're all getting PEX. They don't have that PVC and copper crap in them anymore,
Okay.
and that helps out a bunch right there.
Does that just makes them freeze faster?
It was so bad that there's a sump pump down on the sub basement floor where there's 2 apartments.
Yeah.
It was so cold up here, and you know how cold it was, 50, 60 below zero with the wind chills,
Mhm.
right? That the sump pump froze and broke. And all it was doing, that water coming down there, it was pushing it back up. The bottom floors had 2 foot of water in them.
Well,
Good thing they got insurance is all I got to say.
Yep. Well, tonight, I'd like to say before we get started, hey, Barbara, and hey there, Bart. I hope you guys are doing great.
Right.
And tonight we have a guest. Her name is Natalie Kreider, I hope. And she is new to Kansas. She just recently moved to Topeka. But I met her years and years ago, apparently, at McPike Mansion when she was living in Missouri. And she is part of Darkly Obscured Paranormal. And I think that you guys will enjoy talking to her, and we'll find out what she's got in store for us here in Kansas and Missouri now. So welcome, Natalie.
Hi.
Hi, Natalie.
So
So we've got a lot going on. And I'm excited. It's nice to finally be able to reconnect over all these years because it was a long time ago.
it had to be. And, like I said, I know your name, and I don't just go out and send people Facebook requests and stuff. So I know that you had to have sent me one, and it had to be something to do with where I met you at.
Yep.
And hello, Christina from North Texas. If you guys have any questions at all for Natalie as we're going through this, please ask them.
Right.
because she seems to be one of those people that'll talk to you about anything, anytime, anywhere. And Bart, Barbara, I'm feeling better. But I'll explain all that later. So
Yeah, just 2 other shows usually still aren't enough for me to get everything in.
no. well, I know that you have a workshop coming up that's called How to Get Young People Involved in the Paranormal. And when I saw that is the reason why I asked you to be on the show, I thought it would be interesting to hear about your workshops and all that. And this is a great way to get, a lot of people that listen to the show are local. So they're here in Kansas and Missouri, in the mostly in this Kansas City area. So I thought, well, because I saw something about Topeka, that's why when you said that I wasn't shocked, but for some reason I kept thinking that you were still out in St. Louis area, because that's what I knew.
Yeah.
And so, Ron's from Florissant and his family's in St. Louis. So like for us, it's old home week, but Topeka, there's some really interesting things in Topeka as well. And I know you haven't had a chance to explore all of them.
No, not yet. Working on it.
Some of the really good ones have already burnt down. There's a real nice graveyard not too far from downtown that has a very interesting history.
Stoll Cemetery?
No, I tell people no one. I tell them don't go there.
Yeah,
and not because it's haunted or because of anything other than, do you want a ticket or do you want to be arrested?
Right. Yeah, it's why we haven't gone out. We've done the Rochester Cemetery, where the albino woman has been reported. Obviously, we haven't caught anything like that. We've had orbs and things like that from when we've gone out there to visit. I like to go out to the cemeteries anyways to pay my respects and to help with cleanup and restoration. So I tend to spend a lot of time out there anyway, so it kind of goes along with the job. But yeah, I've done that. I've been out to the old Minigers site, mental hospital. Obviously, we can't go inside. And thankfully, now somebody's actually starting to fix it up. I saw that there were people inside working on it and had electric going. So hopefully they'll get it back to what it once was. If nothing, at least because it's a historical marker. But yeah, I've been out there. We've used some of our equipment. We've asked questions, things like that. And we've had some pretty interesting responses. We've done Hotel Josephine in Holton, Kansas.
That's what's funny about that is they have been talking about that for years. I mean, ever since I can remember. Yeah. And no, I haven't lived here forever, but I have lived here almost 40 years. So we look at that and go, they've been talking about it forever. Just recently have we started hearing things about it again, and because there used to also be a bed and breakfast in Holton that you could rent. It's now a private residence, but we had always wanted to do it and just never did. So now we kind of got a ticker on this. We're going to have to do this because,
ours happened by sheer luck. Just because our move out here took up pretty much all of our funding. And unfortunately, a lot of places to get into, they require a decent amount of money just to investigate.
Yeah.
So to do an investigation at a location like that was more than what we could budget for at the time. But in October, KSNT Channel 27 reached out to me and they're like, hey, we want to do a Halloween special and follow your team on an investigation. They contacted me Friday night and they're like, we'll meet you at 4:00 in the morning on Wednesday.
Oh, well, that's fun.
Okay. So I started calling around. I'm like, I don't know where to take them. So I contacted Hotel Josephine and I'm like, hey, this is the situation. The news channel wants to come in and talk. So they went ahead and they let us come in and we ended up doing the whole night. We had the entire place to ourselves. It was me and my other half who's behind me. We did the investigation there and it was really great. I mean, it was quiet the first half of our investigation, but we had a bedroom light on the first floor come on by itself when there was nobody down there. Sounds, knocks. We had a lot of orbs, EVPs, things like that, but a lot of our activity was in the basement. It was in the doll room. And that is where it just kind of took off. We spent a lot of time there specifically. And then Ryan from KSNT, the children's spirits, really took a liking to him. And they wanted him to play and do all these things. So we actually left lollipops down there for them as an offer. We've always tried to do something like that, especially when there's kid spirits. So, and that tends to get a lot of good results.
Yeah, like I said, I haven't been there yet. I know where it is. My husband works, he drives all over the place. And so he goes up that way every once in a while. So it's kind of neat. There's a hotel that I want to check out in is it Waterville, Ron?
Waterton.
No, it's Waterville.
Waterville.
Yeah, Waterville, Kansas. They have a hotel there. And this hotel has been a hotel and train station its entire life. It has never changed. And it is the end of the Atchison Topeka Railroad system.
Okay.
And there's nothing in town. There's nowhere. There's only a convenience store to eat in. And then there's an opera house across the street from it. So I'd like to check that out. And it's one of those few places that I thought was really interesting.
You know what'd be interesting? Okay, in Kansas. Okay, because I was stationed at Fort Riley out there.
Yeah.
Main post down at Fort Riley is all sandstone block buildings where the horse stables were at when they had the cavalry there is now the main PX.
Okay.
I mean, it would be, but I don't think the military let us on there to do it.
No.
But that whole area down in there is the beginning of Fort Riley.
Yeah, Fort Leavenworth
Way
is the
back.
only one I know of that I can get into right now. And that's just during the day. That's not at night.
Right.
Which, I mean, makes total sense when you know what's there for safety. But that and then the Ward Mead, the botanical garden here in Topeka. I went and did the investigation there at the house, the Ward Mead house. And that was interesting. We got some interesting little tidbits from that. So I'm hoping to go back out there again. And then you were talking about the railroad, the Overland Station here. There's actually another team that's going to be doing an investigation there at the Overland. So I'm hoping I can get in there soon.
Yeah, I've heard about that place, and I haven't been in there yet either.
I haven't.
Because that just recently came to light that was haunted.
I've heard about it. I've had a lot of people talk to me about it. But as far as I knew, they weren't letting groups in there. And then, of course, now they have one going in. So I'm interested to see what they catch.
I saw an advertisement for the place about a year ago, and it's like
Wamego?
no, over the Overland.
Hmm.
So, and isn't it owned by the same people that own Hotel Josephine?
That I'm not sure on. I know Hotel Josephine also has the lake house.
Okay, maybe that's what I was thinking of.
But I'm not sure about the Overland. Honestly, I haven't looked a whole lot into that one yet. Let's see. There was another one. I'm trying to think of where it was.
I know that there's a haunted high school off of 70, and
Wamego.
because that's not off of 70.
It's
Um,
about 9 miles off.
Well, maybe it is that one. We were invited multiple times from
That's it.
from the Sally House. We used to be the tour guides at the Sally House.
So much about the Sally House, and I'm really torn on it because it doesn't sound like there's enough activity to make it reasonable
Probably
for the
not
price.
now.
Long story short, don't waste your time.
Yeah, not now.
That's kind of what we were thinking too.
If
We
you
actually
had
are
went-
doing one next
you
month
would've-
at the
McIntyre Villa.
next year. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely go
So-
there.
So, long story short, I used to do the trolley tours in Atchison.
Mhm.
I also was the tour guide with him at the Sally House, and we also did the haunted hops. We used to work for the Chamber of Commerce there.
Okay.
So, when it comes to the history of the town, I can tell you everything that's not true.
That's good to know. I will be hitting you up for that information.
But and we were on Ghost Adventures for the Sally House.
Yeah.
back when it was haunted.
Yep. Carl and Gary helped us one season, and we basically got to investigate for free.
Oh yeah.
That's how
For
Hotel
7 years.
Josephine was for us.
Well, it wasn't for free. We had to drive up.
Well, yeah, we had
to drive out there and put up with all
We
200
volunteered.
to 300 people in 4 hours.
And then they're done that.
And then whatever else they told us to do, help out on other investigations or haunted hops or whatever.
Oh, the fun ones were the murder mystery things.
Oh yeah,
that was always interesting to do.
There was there's a house actually that's for sale right now in Atchison. That
Which one?
I would have to pull up, but it was on a paranormal show called Paranormal in the Heartland.
Oh yeah,
You don't
we know
want
whose
that
house
house.
it is.
That house was pissed in by stray cats for years. It stinks. You don't want that house.
Yeah, we know.
And was it haunted? No,
No.
but they also left out. Here's what they left out. They left out that the lady who owned the house is a medium that does events there for money.
Okay, good to know.
So
Good
they
enough.
left out some things. So that kind
I'm
of
not
stuff
surprised.
irritates
I mean, when it comes to TV, and that's a big thing, and that's part of my workshops that I give at the beginning, my Paranormal 101, and now with trying to get the younger generations, because they're the ones that are going to take over for us. And there are so many misconceptions of what we do and how we do things that the record needs to be set straight. They need to be taught how to properly do an investigation for their safety, their team safety, and for the clients that we deal with, especially if they're going into a private house for a resident investigation. I mean, that is a whole different ballpark than just going to a haunted location, snapping some photos, and then going home at the end of the night.
Mhm.
Two different things.
What age group are you going for?
So this topic kind of plays a close part for my heart. I got started. I've been involved in the paranormal since I was really young, grew up in a house with a spirit. As far back as we can kind of piece together, I was about 2 when it started. But I got my start at the age of 10, which is super, super early for kids getting involved in this. And you can watch your shows and everything, but there's a difference. But when it really comes down to, and I know a lot of the younger generations like, well, I want to go do these investigations like everyone else. It comes down to safety and liability, and children are more receptive. They're more open. They haven't quite closed down the possibility that these things don't really exist. And without the proper protection and proper protocols, they can open themselves up to physical, spiritual attacks, anything like that. So they need to be prepared properly. So I am not against the young teenagers asking questions and wanting to be a part of it. But the same thing I tell them, because my niece is 8 right now, and we just had this conversation. She's like, I want to go on the investigation. I want to do what you do. You're the professional. You know what you're doing, kind of thing. And I had to explain to her, I go, it's not what you see on TV.
Mhm.
And I told her, I go, when you turn 11, I will take you out on an official investigation and show you how to do things. I go, but in the meantime, ask questions, research, do what you need to do behind the scenes, because that's how I started. I started kind of like a PR in the team. I would call and set up investigations. I would do interviews. I'd review evidence. I did a lot of field historian work. I'd spend so much time at the library. They knew me on a first name basis, and I was there from open to close, and they couldn't get rid of me. So those things are things that the kids can still get involved. The investigation section is only a small snippet of what we do. It's only about 10% of our job. And the first half is just research and making sure you have the information you need. And then the other half is going through evidence and audio and video, because a 8-hour investigation turns into 72 hours of reviewing footage.
Or more.
It just takes forever. But that's how you learn. You know what to look for. You know what the signs are. And I just did another podcast with somebody else recently where they discussed mental health in the paranormal. Mm-hmm. And that is a big part on it too. It's a very taboo topic, but a lot of the cases we get, especially private residences, they're not always paranormal based. A lot of them have mental health sides. And I've recently had the opportunity, I was brought on to the Warren Legacy Foundation that was created by Lorraine Warren and Ed Warren, and their grandson Chris runs it now. So I'm part of their Western Midwest division. And the resources that we have for these people, because a lot of people, as soon as they hear mental health, they drop the case.
Right.
And that's not helping the client. We want to
No.
be able to make sure that they have access to counselors, to therapy, to medical treatment. Sometimes it's drug abuse. So all of these things are things that we need to look for. And there are signs when we do our initial interviews and we are asking questions. They might be personal, but they're going to help us in the long run make sure that they get the help that they need. And I want the younger generation to understand what this entails. It's not just going out, getting scared, and then telling your friends about it. What we do is we help people who are in need.
I mean, that's the whole thing. If you truly got involved in this to help people, that's where you would be going. You would be going towards help as opposed to, you said the wrong thing, I got to go.
Yep.
And it happens a lot.
And not every spirit you come across is demonic. Like that's
Right.
probably my biggest pet peeve is that they automatically think it's evil, that it's automatically demonic. You've been possessed. I mean, I love the show, but we don't need to do our best Zach Baggins impersonation on investigation.
Yeah.
We're not
Why
getting
not?
possessed. Yeah, we're not getting possessed on everyone. Love the guy, but not how it is. And they don't understand that an investigation takes days, weeks, months of work. And these TV shows take 45 minutes of snippets and they piece it together. And they're looking for the reviews. They're looking for the jump scares because that's what people want. But if you're only in it for the ghost hunting and not the paranormal investigating and the research, then it's not necessarily the path that you need to be taking.
Yeah, if you're only in it for the ghost hunting part, pay to go to one of those places that you can do that.
Yep.
Don't experiment in somebody's house.
Right.
And don't get me wrong. If you want to get experience, be a part of the paranormal community. Get on these workshops, these radio talk shows, the podcast, listen, talk with people, go to the events, go to the Paracons. There is nothing wrong with that. But people need to form their own opinions on how they are going to pursue the research. Mm-hmm. And that's the only way that we're able to expand on it.
Well, the thing is that if it's truly research, then it'll be valuable. If it's for fun, it's for fun. Yep. Do it for fun.
And that's okay.
But don't experiment on the family that calls because you say you have a paranormal team and everything, and then you decide you're going to go in there and try to help them when you haven't a clue on how to help them.
And if we do have anybody listening that, is needing help with the paranormal, the first thing is look up credentials. Do not be afraid to learn who it is that you're asking help from. Mm-hmm. But also, if somebody's coming in to help you because you are in distress, you should not be paying large sums of money out of your pocket for that. I mean, we've had investigators. We don't charge to go in and do private residences. We help them the best we can. Therapy, all that is provided at no cost, which is wonderful for the clients. But I've had far too many come to me and they're like, I just paid $1,000 for somebody and they did an exorcism over the phone. And
wow.
And it's just some of the stories that we've heard. And
we've heard them too.
Yeah.
It's kind of sickening, but
yeah, if you're asking for someone to come into your house, and this is for everybody out there, if you're asking somebody to come into your house and help you, feel free to ask questions. Ask lots of questions. It's your house. You are in control of the situation.
Right.
If you don't want that person in your house, you just say, I don't want you to come to my house. I need you to tell me how to deal with this now. There's a lot of different options that you have when it's your house. Mm-hmm. And you also have the opportunity here to say no. Yep. Just remember that it's yours. Say no to these people that tell you that they can help you. And if your gut says they can't,
but a lot of them don't know that. They think it's normal that they have to pay.
Yeah, I know.
Mm-hmm. Paranormal predators.
This is not what people don't understand sometimes is this is not a service that we can prove. First off, we cannot prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that you have a ghost. We can't prove that we got rid of it. We can't show it to you or anything.
Although most of the residentials we've done, we proved that they didn't have one.
Yeah, most we
It
proved
was
they
it
did.
was something else.
But the ones that we did prove that they had something,
Yeah.
they were happy that we showed up
Yeah.
and that we talked to them and listened to them.
Right.
And that's the biggest key of all. Sometimes, even the ones that didn't have a ghost, it was the listening that was the key.
Who was that one house we went to in Atchison, 2 or 3 times? She had lost her husband, a year or so before.
Oh, yeah.
And
The one in
we
denial.
weren't really getting anything, but it's just
The house was weird.
the house was weird. It just had a weird vibe.
It had a dungeon.
I think, yeah, the second time we went in there, well, the first time we didn't really find much, but it was just a weird house. But the second time, after we were in there, 2 hours or so, we finally me and Denise got together and we were like, I think she's dabbling in like witchcraft or Ouija boards or something. We finally asked her, do you mess around with Ouija boards or any of that? And she goes, oh, no.
She showed up at the Sally house with one.
Yeah. Showed up when we were doing the tours.
She didn't know we were going to be there.
Yeah. She showed up with that thing. I had to kick her out.
Well, we had to kick the board out. She was allowed, but the board was not.
Right.
Yeah.
So
that is a
and then we talked to other
another
people.
2 hours.
Yeah, we talked to other people that actually knew her, and they said, "Oh no, we thought she told you that she was into witchcraft and all this stuff." And I went, oh, "Okay, well, we can't help you."
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
No,
Well,
you lied. Well, first of all, you lied.
The reality is we can't help everybody, and if they're not willing to help themselves, same thing like when we come across somebody who's dealing with drug addiction. You have to be clean. You have to be sober before we can go in there. And it's for your well-being, our safety and well-being. But we can't help. We can't get you the right information and the right help if you don't have a clear mind. And even if it's not drugs, medications in general. I used to work as a pharmacy technician, and I worked in the hospital as an aide. So knowing which medications can cause hallucinations and things like that can really play a part in it. Dehydration alone can be a major part of it.
Lack of sleep. You got all kinds of things that could do it. We had
one investigation. We did a private residence, and we went in and we did several interviews with her beforehand. Multiple of my members, kind of to make sure we were getting the same information, and we noticed that we weren't. And when we went in to do the investigation, we had asked her multiple times, are you on any medications? Because she's like, I have bruises and all these things that are showing up. And she's like, no, I'm not on any medication. We went into the bathroom and her counter was just lined with all of these prescriptions. And a lot of them cause bruising, things like that. And we can't do our job effectively. And there are some people who, no matter how much proof you give them, they will always believe it's paranormal.
I have a story on that too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So one of the things is that if another team goes in there before you and they say you've got a demon, you're going to have to spend your whole time proving to them it's not a demon.
Yep.
Not only not a ghost, maybe not even a ghost, but it is not a demon.
If they're not spitting pea soup and walking upside down on the ceiling and rotating their head 360 degrees, do not tell them that it's demonic, but it's a demon. Yeah.
You know, it could be that somebody's got a really good vacuum cleaner up above you. You just don't know. There's an old Dirt Devil commercial that they used. Oh, God, I got to find that.
It's funny.
It is hilarious. But they used The Exorcist as their theme. And it was great. My mom sent it to me, which is even worse. But, you know, you're talking about some of the stuff that we see. One of the things that
was a commercial that didn't make. They didn't actually play it, right?
They played it overseas.
Yeah, overseas. They didn't make the
here.
cut here.
Yeah, it didn't make the cut here. There's no.
They thought it would offend. I don't know. I guess
Catholics,
demonic worshippers. I don't know. Satan worshippers. I guess they'd offend them.
Well, my brain already left what I was going to say. So, but
yeah, I mean, when we do these workshops, if somebody tells you they absolutely 100% know everything about the paranormal, they're lying. That's
Oh,
just
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
This field is always changing. It's always evolving. We're always learning something new. We're creating new tools to be able to measure things that are measurable. And I mean, you get some really deep topics like time continuums and things like that. And it's not saying that anybody's wrong, because nobody knows for fact that that is. And that's why it's the paranormal, because it hasn't been scientifically proven. If it had been, it'd be considered the paranormal.
Right.
Yeah, there's all kinds. I mean, at some point in time, paranormal would become normal, and we know it. But will it in my lifetime? I don't think in the next 30 years they're going to have it all figured out.
No.
It's not, doesn't move that fast. Plus, nobody wants it to be proven to be 100% normal. I don't think anybody does. I think they want that people want it to be mysterious, because that's what's driving all of us to learn more about it, is because we want it to be something that we only know about, that we can share it with other people, but we don't want everybody to know everything there is to know about it.
I think a lot of it comes down to personal belief and religion and things like that, because everybody has a different opinion on what happens when we cross over. I mean, does nothing happen? I just watched a podcast on reincarnation, and some of the things that they had, and people who do these regression sessions are just very interesting. Like, I can't quite prove or disprove anything, but there is a sense that is fascinating at the same time, because we're learning about it.
Yeah. I have
some interesting theories on that.
Yeah, really interesting.
I like to listen to everybody's theories on it.
I always have a problem with somebody telling me that, like, one of the things I was told is that in my past life, I lived in San Francisco during the Great Fire, and that I was a nurse. Okay, first off, I hate blood, but I do not
loved it then.
But I do not have a fear of fire at all.
You didn't have a problem with blood then, so
I know that.
But she could have been a vampire then too, and
yeah. So, but yeah, and I tell him all the time. I said, every time we've had a fire in our house, I said, I'm not upset. You just think that I'm, everything's fine until you realize I don't get upset.
It's too late.
Yeah, because one time my hair was on fire. I mean, truly on fire. And I go, my hair's on fire, just like that.
Yeah. That's how she said it. So I didn't.
He didn't jump.
I thought she was joking around.
Until I came upstairs with my hair all wet and my eyebrows all singed.
Oh, no.
And my hair was all frizzed out from being burnt. And then when our stove caught on fire here, I opened it, I threw some stuff on it, and I said, our stove's on fire. And he comes out there and he goes, what? And I go, the stove's on fire. And
I did that one time.
He's like, what? Well, the heating element was defective after so many years.
Yeah,
it just kind of
sorted out.
Caught on fire.
And so it wasn't like I did it. Okay.
I would put my burner on low and it'd be like on high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was getting ready to make hamburger pie, and it's like, well, I guess I'm making something else for dinner. And yeah, he's like, you're not even upset. I said, well, maybe I really was in the San Francisco fire. Nothing's as bad as that. So I don't know, but I do have some problems with this past life thing. I don't know how you can prove it, but I also have heard stories of people who have children who tell people how they died and who did it and all this stuff, and it's amazing. But but we don't know what that child was told when we weren't there.
The ones that I find fascinating are, especially with the children, when they're able to give you a name, first and last, a date, a location, all the details, and that you can physically go back and track it because there was a newspaper article or something along those. Those are the ones that I find fascinating, especially with genealogy becoming such a bigger part of what we're doing.
Yeah.
Being able to track back those and then find out that did happen, that they were right. The plane went down or something.
But like I said, how do we know that child wasn't groomed? to say that.
Exactly.
That's my thing is I don't want to say that it's not true. I don't know that, but I wasn't there. It's just like when we watch these TV shows and they talk about this, and it's like, I wasn't there. Sometimes you can't show me your picture and say, do you see this? It's like, I don't know what the conditions were.
Power of suggestion is a huge part that plays in this field. So does pareidolia. I mean, that's another big one. I mean, we are programmed to find relatable objects and things that we see.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's really hard to determine what, unless you're physically there, unless you have the proof, you were there, you have the recordings, everything, and they haven't been altered or tampered, there's always going to be some suspicion.
Yeah, always. And I don't trust, no matter how much I trust people, some people, I still don't trust that I'm not seeing something that hasn't been altered. Ghost Adventures. Okay. Funny. This one's funny. At McPike Mansion, during the time that they were investigating there, they got an EVP. It's my voice. I wasn't there. I was at Ashmore Estates at the time. Yet it sounds like me.
Oh yeah.
We did the Wolf Hotel in November, and one of the gentlemen that was there, he stayed upstairs due to mobility issues, and everybody else was either downstairs or dispersed, whatever. And some of the EVPs that he captured were, clear as day. But my biggest question is, how can we be sure it's not echoing? How do we make sure? He's like, well, there's nobody else in the room.
Doesn't matter.
That doesn't necessarily, it's not that you're wrong. It's not that you haven't actually captured something. But when you have these open investigations, I love doing open investigations because it gives people the chance to experience these things. But at the same time, I hate them on the researcher side of it because there's so much contamination, nothing's viable.
That's true. One of the things we found at the Sally House, being in there for 7 years, I knew every part of that house. So if you were in the basement, you could be heard talking
on the second floor.
On the second floor upstairs, because there's a vent at the bottom of the steps in the main floor that's hooked to the basement that echoes upstairs. Same as EMF. If you have fluorescent lights in a house, guess what? If you have on a fluorescent light below a room, you're going to have EMF in the room above. So if you don't know this stuff, most people don't know that old metal beds have EMF in them.
And that's why I give the workshops. I mean, there's things that I'm still learning. If I don't have the answer, I'm going to find it for you and get back to you. That's just how I work. But people need to know these things because otherwise they're portraying something as paranormal, and that's not helping us scientifically.
And especially if it's normal. Mm-hmm. So
you look at the people that's they're in their bed, and on the other side of the wall is the junction box.
Yep. Yeah. I've actually got one of those in my bedroom. And then I've seen them also where they're inside the closets.
Yeah.
Yep.
We've had had a beehive in one of our walls, and you could hear it.
Oh yeah.
And so if you didn't know, you'd have a problem. Our dishwasher, when it runs, sometimes in the living room we hear this sound.
Yep.
And suddenly it has high EMF in there. So it's unusual.
Well,
and Bart, we won't get you started on equipment because your equipment. And Spirit Guides Paranormal. And if you guys have any questions at all, please ask them. We're more than willing to ask them. Otherwise, you got to listen to me come up with questions. And eventually, I don't come up with the ones you want to hear.
When viable and it's possible. Like in the winter, it's really hard. But if I'm able to turn off the main power to the house, if I'm able to do all that, I do. Because that helps cut back on some of it. Mm-hmm. But I do my base walkthrough when I get there first. And I check every inch. I check the walls. I check the door frames. I check the microwaves and the fridges. Anything that might be, and I document what it is. So if I go by and this lamp didn't give it off before and suddenly this area is now, then I at least have something to compare it to.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you know what though?
And
one thing about having the power on is that you can use it as a natural EMF to kind of fuel all that.
Yep.
You know, that was one of the things that we did do in the Sally house. There was this one closet area that if you turned on the hall light in the master bedroom, you had high EMF.
Yep.
Well,
EMF
and it would,
through the
yeah,
roof.
and
It
it
went crazy.
Yeah, so you would have, spirits had a way to manifest without having to have extra equipment, but you
Right.
had to know that. You couldn't just say, oh, there's high EMF. You would have to, no EMF could be read at that point because it's you're already saying this is already tampered with. You already know this.
Yes.
So, but
and that's all part of the research. I mean, it's tedious, especially in a large location. It is really tedious, but you have to. I mean, you can't, by the time you're done and it really is something paranormal, you can't sit there and say for a fact, 100% sure you're positive it's not.
yeah.
Because there's contamination of some variety. And large amounts of EMF, especially if you're exposed over time, can lead to the dizziness, to migraines, to nausea, all those things, hallucinations. Those are all things that can be factors. So there's such a big medical part into what we do as well.
Right. And spirit guides, paranormal, they're right too, that these base readings are important to have so that
Right.
you know where you're going to have that, where you might have that issue. And Bart, I am so sorry that you tracked a cricket all night.
Man.
That's bad.
Well, his microphones are very sensitive, so he's
Yeah.
listening and trying to figure it out. Yeah,
50
I
feet.
can imagine.
My biggest pet peeve on an investigation is whispering. I will call you out and I will put you on the spot if I catch you whispering while I'm doing an investigation. Because if I have to spend 30 minutes going through an EVP just to find out that you had to pee or that you farted, we're going to have a problem. Because
I will say, I think it's hilarious when somebody's stomach growls and you hear them go, oh. It's like,
at least document it. Like when you walk in a room, say who you are when you're walking in. If you can document the time, do it, because then you can go back to all your other videos and audio recordings and overlay them to find out where you were at what time when this happened. And it
And the
helps.
voice. You can
Exactly.
compare it to somebody that's with you at all times.
right. Because there have been times, like I said, we were talking about the EMF that Ghost Adventures got that sounds like me. But there's other times that I hear EMFs on TV and it sounds like somebody that's part of the crew.
Oh, yeah.
Part of the team that's there.
Yeah.
And
I go, well, that sounds like Billy or
Aaron.
something.
And
Yeah.
I really do hate when I hear they'll do an EVP and they'll have you listen to it, and then right after or before they're like, "This is what we heard. What did you hear?"
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I
Shit
do?
has just been put in, and now that's all you're going to hear.
Right.
Well, we tease about that. We tease about it from the Velisca Axe Murder House. I killed 6 kids. So every EVP we hear now says, I killed 6 kids.
Yep.
So we tease about it a lot. But again, TV's back here. I sit here and work. Still have the shows on. And so I can't see what they're saying. And if I hear it and I say what it is, then that's a whole different ballgame.
I like to have.
See it, it's horrible.
I like to send each of my members what we've captured. The EVP recordings, everything, without any information, without any editing, and send it to them. And everybody has to log what they heard, when they heard it, and section it. And we don't talk to each other about it until after we have all completed it, and then we sit down and we talk about it.
That sounds fair.
That's a good way to do it.
Do you know, I personally have never captured an EVP. I have been able to, any sound that I've heard, I've been able to debunk it as something. So, and from what I understand, real EVPs are rare.
Yeah.
And if you have a DR60, good for you. I think they're junk.
I like some of the new technology that we have. I mean, they're cool.
Yeah.
But I very much so like my old school, especially when it comes to like cameras. I love my Polaroids. They're just
But they're expensive.
Yeah.
They are, and that's the downfall. They can't be tampered with the way that we did.
Right.
But if you don't pull it out and you take another picture can form a
overlay on it.
Yeah. And I've seen that before where people will go, look, this is, and we have a neighbor up the road, really neat picture. It looks like there's somebody else with a fishing rod right there by the lake where she's at. And it's like, I don't think it's paranormal, but it's a really neat picture. And I say that a lot. I mean, people will show me pictures of stuff and they'll say, hey, I got a fake. Look, there's a person in here. And I'll go, I don't see a person. And he'll go, I see a person. And I'm like, I don't see one. And so I don't see, like when you said pareidoia, I don't see pareidoia. I don't see faces and stuff. But it's hard for me to find a person in a picture if there's not a person there.
Got your trail cam picture there, Carl?
Oh, I can probably find it.
All right. Yeah, just pull it up when you get time.
Okay.
Hey, when you go to a new place, do you do your research first, or do you just
do? But
I thought you did.
I do not tell my team everything.
Right.
I only include the absolute important parts if something might be potentially dangerous, which is also why we do a daytime walkthrough so we can spot any areas that might be dangerous if we're walking around the park. But I don't tell them everything. It's me and my historian. We're the only ones that know everything about that location. And even then, sometimes there's not all the details are released until afterwards when we come together to discuss about the evening.
Okay. Yeah, there's some location. I don't know if it makes a difference, but there's some locations we feel like we need to do some research before. And there's other ones we don't want to know. Mm-hmm. We just go in cold.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with it. That is where every investigator is different. Some people like that information. If you're dealing with somebody who is a medium, who is sensitive, who is a psychic, the fewer details, the better. Which is kind of that's where I am. Like the fewer details, the better. I like to know a general idea, but I try to leave out names. I try to leave out what exactly happened. Anything along those lines that could potentially cause power of suggestion.
Right.
Well, with her, I guess we might be cheating a little bit, even a place we've never been to. If we're going to actually go there, she'll get visits from those spirits 4 or 5 days before we even go.
And that's not uncommon.
No.
So,
which also lets us know that we're actually going to make it. Because a lot of times we don't.
Yeah.
Somehow something happens to keep us from going. So.
And that plays a part actually into my workshop next month, because we're talking about specifically children experiencing the paranormal at a young age and how they handle it and how to help these children who are experiencing the paranormal accept it and not be so afraid of it. But it goes for adults too. I mean, it plays the same concept, because if you have never been a medium, a sensitive, anything like that, and you have a near-death experience and suddenly the floodgates have opened, you're getting swarmed with energy and activity, that is overwhelming.
Well, not if you watch ghosts on TV.
True. True.
But you know what? Some of the stuff on that show is very true to life for somebody who sees spirits.
Yep.
And I hate to say that a sitcom about ghosts would be more true to life on the stuff that people experience for real than some of the for real TV. Yeah, it's still on.
And a lot of it shows when they first come out, the very beginning, Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures, things like that, there was a little bit more believable content.
Yeah.
Because it was more authentic. But when it came down, they want more ratings, more viewings. Yep. Then they start doing things that are not right.
We also know as investigators, we've been to locations where we didn't get anything. Mm-hmm. And you know darn well that they're going to places too. They didn't get a thing, but yet they got some evidence of some kind.
And that's why I say 45 minutes of a TV show is not even close to what it's like. Because these people are at locations for 3-4 days, a week, a month. And they're doing multiple investigations. And half the time, when we do an investigation, we're sitting in the dark talking to ourselves. Yeah. I mean, that's the reality of our job.
Well, the reality of Ghost
little
Adventures
crazy.
is they are there for, for 5 days doing what they're doing, but they're not there 5 full days.
Nope.
They're there for, 3 or 4 hours this day, 3 or 4 hours this day, 3 or 4 hours this day. But you don't know that because they don't really tell you that this all happened over a period of 3 to 5 days.
I think the reason that most people don't realize it is because they never change their uniform.
They always wear black.
So it looks like it's all on the same night.
You want to know what?
Right.
I always, you can tell that I am not your average paranormal investigator because I wear purple and he does too usually. We don't wear black.
I'm told to.
Oh,
It's
and
our uniform.
key thing, we are the non-tattooed paranormal team. No,
I mean, I have 2 tattoos. I've got the one across my shoulders and one on my leg. But when I'm wearing anything, you're not going to see them. I mean, unless I'm wearing
Right.
shorts. But I do cargo pants. So,
jeans and a sweatshirt.
Yeah. and there's
Well,
nothing wrong with that.
hopefully-
The biggest thing I try to avoid is anything that's reflective.
Well,
Anything
or
that's bright
anything.
colored and reflective.
Yeah, and you got to be careful that you don't wear something that the night vision turns into
Yeah,
that you
got a
really want to
proposal.
see.
right.
You got a proposal, Natalie.
Oh, Bart wants you to marry him.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I just got engaged over Christmas. So
I saw that.
Oh,
Congratulations.
Oh,
He could have been on with you. We could have had the significant other on with you. So, and hello, Evelyn. And
he's playing a video game in the bedroom.
so,
Too late,
well,
Bart.
that's okay. So
He likes to work behind the scenes. He doesn't like being in the camera.
So, damn it, congrats. I'll put it up.
yeah. So my mouse is way
Boy,
over
your
here.
mouse is, man, that thing is
It's because of the 3 monitors.
trickle. I know, but it's touchy.
What he doesn't get is that
I
For
know.
my
I'm
mouse-
trying to go,
you-
but the thing goes.
it is what it is. So
I love
But-
when I have like multiple 2 or 3 monitors set. Yeah, I get fancy like that. I like when I have multiple monitors and I have to go across all 3 screens to get to where I need to be.
yeah, with this, you have to go through a certain place from the laptop to the monitor.
Yep.
Because it's 3 set up, so it's a mess, and
Yeah.
it's not really viable for
Yeah.
this kind of stuff.
Our home base, I mean, they're really not exaggerating when you see some of these shows and their home base and they've got monitors and all kinds of stuff. But we like to keep it organized. We get those little plastic chest drawers at Walmart. They're like 3 and 4.
Uh-huh.
And we have those and we stack them in like one is all batteries and then another one is our cords, USB cables, things like that.
Mhm.
So like everything we need, all of our connectors and everything are in there.
Mhm.
And it keeps them organized and makes traveling so much easier.
Well, for traveling, that's a whole different ballgame. But at home, I work from home, so I have everything set up a certain way. So you sent me a lovely bio, and I'm sorry I didn't use it.
It's okay.
Well, you were sick.
Yeah.
And oh, there you go. You were sick. I had surgery. We're lucky we got here together. Carl wants you to look at this picture.
Ron wanted me to bring it up for her to look at it.
Pretty good.
Do we know what the weather was like during the time that this was taken?
What?
It was probably cold.
Cold. So,
Oh,
I mean, a lot of what I'm seeing would probably be more like condensation, the moisture with the lens flaring. Especially, well, to me, it's on the right
This is
side.
on a trail cam.
Yeah. I don't know. I have a hard time trying to say if that's paranormal.
Do you see anything in it?
Do I see shapes? Yes. But I would classify it more under that pareidolia than I would necessarily paranormal.
Okay.
And that's just simply because I don't have enough information at
Right.
that time to be able to definitively say.
So we're back to what we said before. You weren't there.
Yeah.
And you don't know the conditions, so it's harder for you to accept.
And condensation alone can cause some really funny changes on the lens when you're looking through anything. The flare, the light projection off of the twigs and branches, if they have any kind of condensation, moisture, frost, anything, that light refraction is going to glow off of it. And it just makes it really hard. Outdoor investigations are great. I don't like doing outdoor investigations because it is so hard to prove anything.
Yeah. Well, the good news in this case is it was just a random picture
Right.
from a random trail, but not a random trail cam. So, but back to what I was saying is you sent me a lovely bio that I did not use, but I am going to use it for questions. So tell us about George.
So that was what I was saying about when I was about 2 years old. So I grew up in Springfield, Missouri. I grew up with my grandparents, and we moved into this house that they still live in to this very day. It's my childhood home that I go to visit. And when we got there, I immediately started having that imaginary friend. And we would hear footsteps going up and down the stairs. We've seen him poke his head kind of like around the banister.
Mm-hmm.
He likes to stay in what was my bedroom, was downstairs, specifically in that closet, which happens to be under those stairs. In the floor in the hallway, there's actually a metal grate, which was part of the furnace. And you could hear it when somebody walks over it. My grandparents would be asleep and I'd be in my room, and you could hear somebody going up and down the hallway. And he would be in my room and we would talk. And he was very much so a trickster. He loved to hide things. He loved to move things around. And we got to the point where if you were looking for like your keys, or he would take circus tickets and hide them. If you didn't have time to deal with his shenanigans, you would go, George, knock it off. I need such and such back now. And you'd stomp your foot, turn around in a full circle. And as soon as you stopped, it would be somewhere in that view. And you could have turned the whole house upside down. We did a camping trip one time, and the last thing to be packed was a coffee pot. My grandfather went to go pick up the coffee pot, and the carafe was gone. It was missing. Nobody had touched it. We searched through everything, couldn't find it. Finally, we're like, screw it. We'll get a new one on the way. He took everything out to the car, and when he walked back in, it was sitting there on the maker. Circus tickets, same thing. They'd be left on the table. They'd go missing because we used to go to that Mulan Shrine Circus, and we couldn't find the tickets. And I happened to go pick up the phone to make a phone call to my great-grandmother, and underneath the phone receiver were the tickets, just barely peeking out. No reason for them to be there. So we had a lot of those. He's still occasionally seen, but it seems like when I moved out, once I got older, he kind of left also. So for me, he was more of a guardian, more of a protector, but he also liked to play tricks.
Okay. So have you investigated any place in Springfield any time since you've been an adult?
A lot. So I've done quite a few investigations down there. The Wilson's Creek battlefield. I've been out there. I've done the Joplin Spook Light because Joplin's not too far from Springfield. There's a cemetery out there in Joplin that we did, which we got some really cool evidence on that one. I don't have the footage anymore from it, but one of our investigators was standing there, and he, had hair standing up, goosebumps. And he put his hand over the top of a tombstone. And you can see in the pictures in the video, there's nothing there. There's no brushes, shrubs, anything like that. He puts his hand over this tombstone. And when he pulls it back, he has this like dark, sticky, it smelled very foul, almost like old blood on his hand. And it was just so bizarre because when you're watching this, there was nowhere that could have come from. And it wasn't there when we got there. I mean, he didn't have anything like that on him. So that was just a really interesting situation that we had there. But I'd have to look up the name of that one. But we were out there with another team at the time. Janice Tremere, she's a paranormal author. I'm good friends with her, and it was her and her husband that went out there with us. So that was really cool. That was right after the Joplin tornado, though. I think it was like within that year afterwards.
I
remember seeing the damage from all of that, and it was just horrible. It was horrible. I mean, there's really no words to describe it.
No, I cried when we drove through town.
The center of town has quite a bit. There's some theaters down there that we've investigated. We've done some private investigations.
Have you investigated the Route 66 theater in Webb City?
I have not done that one yet.
Okay.
So I'd like to. They're on my list. I'd like to get my team back down there to do some more investigating. 2 of my members, they're expecting a kid in April, May-ish. So they've been kind of on the down low right now, just dealing with all that.
It's the best thing when you're pregnant to not investigate.
Yeah. And that's kind of where we've been at, because it's a safety thing for her, for the baby, everything.
Well, there's a lot of things that people don't think about, but yeah, safety is the biggest one, and air quality sucks in most of these haunted places.
Yeah, they do.
So,
we have the mask. Well, before COVID became such a big thing, we would wear masks and stuff like that going into these locations. If there was, because dust is actually an allergy for me, so I start, getting the red bloodshot eyes, coughing, sneezing. Can't breathe. I get that notion, and everywhere we go has dust. So I just can't avoid it.
Yeah, skins.
So we do have a question here from Bart. He asks, Natalie, do you and your team research the distance of radio and TV towers from your venues that you investigate for potential EMF contamination?
And will you marry him? I think we already did.
Yeah, that's already
answered. Sorry.
So with that one, no, that's really not something I guess I would say that we've documented a whole lot on. It probably wouldn't be a bad idea to look into that. I mean, I look at a lot of different aspects. We do, if we're going on a larger location, we do have radios with us, just so that we can stay in communication if we get separated or there's an issue. We also carry medical bags on us as well. So in case, and snacks, you can't investigate without snacks. Twizzlers are mine.
Mine
so
too.
if anybody wants to, send me some Twizzlers, I'm okay with that. But we'll do that because you never know. Somebody could get injured, break a leg.
Oh, yeah.
Can't get a hold of anybody, no cell reception. You might be stuck out there for a day or two. So, we try to cover all those. But the radio towers would be a good thing to look into. I know we have... I can't remember the name of them. They're bags that we put our spirit boxes inside of to eliminate some of those. So I guess if that kind of counts, we do though. I can't remember the name of those. I don't know. I couldn't tell you, but yeah, we've got a few of those that we keep to try and help eliminate those kinds of things.
There you go. He says, sure, Workbench will tell you based on zip code, and it's free on their website.
Okay, I'll have to look into that.
So thank you, Bart.
Yeah, thank you.
So, yeah, I know what you're talking about, those electromagnetic bags.
Yeah, they're like ferrophonic bags. I don't
I don't know what they're called.
Yeah, I couldn't pronounce them.
I know we keep a lot of our computer equipment in them at work.
Yeah.
So, other than that, I haven't used one in years.
Yeah.
So, but I used to work in the lab at Sprint, so we have everything put away like that. Yeah. So, here you go. Spirit Guides Paranormal asks, do you introduce yourselves before an EVP session?
Absolutely. I say who we are. I go off and I'll list everybody's name, or I have everybody say their name so that I have their voice recorded for comparison. But then I say the date, the time, any other information, what room we're in. I like to cover all of that so it's documented.
That's what we do. We make sure that we get everybody's voice print so that we have that for, later on. Because you're not going to remember the name of everybody who was there if they're strangers. That's the first thing. Now, if they are people you already know, it's still good to get their voice to say, Carl was here, Denise was here, Ron was here, and YouTube Kids was here, is what you're hearing in the background. So if anybody's listening, we did not give permission for this, but sorry, got a 5-year-old in the room.
Right. If a car drives by, I'll notate that. If it's raining or if it's super windy outside, I'll notate that. Anything that could potentially sound off on audio, I'm going to notate. If the furnace kicks on, I'll say that.
Well, you better hope it is these days when it's this cold. When it's cold,
Yeah.
But if it's not, you're going to be sitting there saying it too.
You go to places with a furnace? Wow, that's impressive.
For a while, I lived in a house that only had a wood burning stove as the heat.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Well, the good news is the furnace didn't kick in,
Right.
Yeah.
and you weren't cold. I guarantee you.
That
were
was
warm.
true too.
And
Yeah.
it didn't put off EMF.
I like being cold.
Well, actually, the iron would.
Yeah, it would,
Yeah.
wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But it would be more a natural EMF that would stay the same all the time.
Yep.
Right.
I would think.
And even if you're not into the whole metaphysical side of things, knowing your rocks, crystals, stones, limestone, all of that, knowing those are very crucial to what we're doing. Also, and just documenting that, like Atchison is very known for having limestone in all of their basements.
Yep.
And limestone has been known to, because it's so porous, to help retain activity, allows them to travel, things like that. So a lot of places that have limestone in them are known to have activity.
Another key
And
thing.
a big river.
Yeah.
Water too, dowsing rods.
Well, another thing that people don't realize, and we're going to get back to dowsing rods, I guarantee that. One thing people don't realize about limestone is that there's quartz in limestone. Almost every time that you find limestone, there's going to be quartz within it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's nice and shiny, flashy looking.
And it's a good reason why we need to know all these materials. I mean, if you can know, even if you're going somewhere, let's say they have German immigrants, like that's what was originally there when the town was founded. I think Atchison was that way. Knowing their legends and how these stonemasons would build the houses, the rituals they would do for protection, things like that can also play a part. I mean, you might not necessarily believe in magic or witchcraft, but for some people, they do. And for them,
They brought it from their home country.
Exactly. And those things still play a part. I had somebody just ask about spirits. Why is it that spirits only speak in English?
They don't.
Why do we only have English?
They don't.
It's just because we don't understand. We don't know their language that they're speaking. And why are ghosts only from like the 1600s or the 1800s, but we don't have any 2021 ghosts? Really?
I like the one where somebody was talking about Gettysburg, and all the ghosts were from the Civil War. Is that nobody's died since the Civil War?
No.
Yes.
Let's be honest. Nobody really wants me asking questions. What about dinosaurs? Why don't we see dinosaur ghosts? Is there an expiration date on ghosts as well as people?
And that's the one thing that I've always questioned about. I've always wondered about it because it's like, why are we only okay? There's broken English, there's old English. A lot of these people came from Europe anyways, or other foreign countries.
Good stuff.
Why can't they be talking in their language? I mean, if you have somebody who knows German, have them ask questions. I've always said, if you know that the people who live there or built there or that are haunting there come from some other
culture.
Yes, culture. Learn a couple words or a couple phrases that you would normally ask in their language. Ask them in their language and then see if you get a response.
So during one of our haunted hops, there is a house in Atchison that was originally built by some German immigrants, and our Echovox was speaking in German, and there is no German words in it.
Yeah, it sounded like he was speaking German.
But we had somebody there that had taken years and years of German in school, and they were sitting there translating what it was saying.
Yeah, and asking questions in German, and they would
Oh
answer.
yeah, we've had all kinds of languages come through Echovox.
Yeah, and that was
one of the good things I love about my team, both Missouri and here, is that we're so well diverse. And our belief systems and our cultures and our language. I mean, from Spanish, we've got some that are familiar with Nordic words and phrases and things like that. The Norse paganism, Catholic, all of those things. And not only does it give us the advantage of being able to pinpoint if maybe something is not English, but it also helps us reach more clients and help more people because we can then base how we handle the investigation on their belief system. You know, do they want a Christian type prayer? Do they want a cleansing or a blessing of the location? Do they want the church to come in? Do they have somebody else who they prefer to come in? Those are all things that we have to keep in mind.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, one of the
Yeah, it makes a difference.
so I have an opinion. I know you're shocked, aren't you? I have an opinion.
Never.
Okay, so in this case, I'm going to ask, when you go to somebody's house, they've asked you to come, do you go prepared to clear the house at that time? Or do you go in, investigate, and then make the recommendation for that to be done at a later date?
Normally it's the latter, but I always carry my stuff with me no matter where I'm going. It's usually kept in my vehicle anyways. I've got everything I need to do a basic cleansing and blessing. So it is an option. It's not usually my first thing because I don't know what I'm dealing with. I don't know if it's the mental health. I don't know if it's paranormal. And understanding the different classifications of paranormal activity plays a part in it. Is it residual? Is it an intelligent haunting? You know, is it a poltergeist? All these different things can factor into how I'm doing this.
See, and I'll tell you, I always go prepared to do, I've already talked to them on the phone, so I already know something about them, but I always go prepared to clear the residence if that's what they want.
And that's just it. It's asking. It's asking.
Because they may not really want you to investigate. They may just want you to come in, clear it, and get the hell out.
Yep. And if that's what they want, then that's what we do. The only thing that I really don't like is when they want us to come and investigate. We prove that it's paranormal, but then they don't want us to do anything. They want to keep them so that they can keep experiencing the paranormal. It's no different than a tourist attraction.
Right.
It becomes an addiction.
To keep somebody who is earthbound like that pretty much trapped for your amusement, for your entertainment, that doesn't seem right.
But isn't that what we're doing when we investigate places like the hotels and the hospitals and all that stuff, those public places?
And unfortunately, if I'm able to, if I do an investigation and I am able to help somebody cross over, I do. There's no question about it. I will help them, especially if you're coming across like children and things like that.
But if they're coming across as children, how do you know for sure they're not something making believe?
That is something where a little bit more research goes into it, a little bit more understanding of what you're dealing with. It's a big reason that when you start talking about Ouija boards and other forms of communication like that, you start getting a little dicey on those things, because I answered somebody's question about the Ouija board earlier today, and they're like, how do you know what you're dealing with? I go, you don't. The Ouija board is like being blindfolded and opening up the door and hoping there's a cat on the other side. And it's not.
There is a lot of
idea.
At that point, there becomes a lot of questions on that. But like I said, we've had multiple people who said, can you come and tell us what's in our house? But our main goal is to get rid of it.
There was a picture that I sent you from a cemetery. And
let me find it.
Okay.
And then
kind of wispy. That's kind of all I'll say. It's kind of a wispy photo.
I thought for sure that you sent me pictures and all this, and I just closed down Facebook.
You're good.
So,
but in this investment, we were at a cemetery. There was a slave section of the cemetery. There were also children there with unmarked graves. And when I was doing my communication session there, the children kept wanting to speak. They kept wanting to talk and come forward, but there was a male presence that was very domineering and was not letting them speak. And I let them know it is okay. He does not control you. He has no control over you. If you wish to come forward and speak, you can, and you can move on. Your loved ones are waiting for you. You can cross over and be with them again. And as I was saying that last part, my members captured several photos back to back, and that second out of the 3 photos was of this mist. And now I can let other people kind of determine what they think from that. But that was a very important part for me. And the energy, the atmosphere of the location, wasn't quite so tense. The energy, the electricity in the air was not as intense as it had been.
Did you send me the pictures through? Because I'm not seeing any individual pictures. Was it through one of the links?
It should have been through Messenger.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not seeing anything but links.
Let me see if I can pull it up. I don't know if I can. But
I see the Instagram link. I see your Facebook page. And I could have swore I saw a whole bunch of pictures earlier.
Yeah.
But I'm not seeing them now.
I'm on Facebook. I can just pull it up.
Okay, well, down at the bottom, there's a share.
Yeah.
So look down there and say present.
Huh. Okay.
Down at the bottom of your page, and you can share them there.
Let me pull up that photo real quick. I've got so many photos on here to try and sort through.
Yeah,
I just just uploaded all of our photos from the Wolf and from the Crescent Hotel in Arkansas.
Yeah, been there. Been to the Crescent.
Yeah,
Crescent
had. Yeah, we had some interesting experiences, but it was more of the way that it affected the individual we were with than it was necessarily capturing anything.
Yeah. We didn't capture anything, but my daughter had a spirit boy walk up and talk in her ear to the point where she almost passed out.
Yeah.
In front of, because we were on the tour.
Yeah, we did the tour too. I wasn't real thrilled with the tour. Here it is. Okay.
Yeah, I think we pissed off our tour guide because we got more people following us around than her.
Yeah, that's usually how that works. Okay.
Well, they got to where they quit asking her questions and they were asking us.
Okay. Can you guys see that?
About other places.
There you go. Let me move this over here.
Huh. That's pretty cool.
So this was one of the pictures that was captured. And that was, as I was saying, that, you can cross over, you can be with your loved ones. This male does not have any control over you. And when that energy just kind of released.
Somebody was just taking random pictures? Or
one of my investigators, yeah. So if I'm doing a communication session, I have another investigator or investigators off to the side who are snapping photos and video documenting everything.
And nothing before or after the picture?
Nope. And what you're seeing here, you see the tombstone. And then you see this mist-like whatever. And then straight back is where the children and the slaves were buried. And this area in front of it and where it's at was actually just an open field. There were no stones in the center of the cemetery.
Huh.
In Springfield, Missouri, there's a graveyard that feels like chaos when you're in it. I don't remember the name of it.
Is that the one?
Is
that the one you lost your dowsing rod?
No.
Oh, yeah.
One Farrah took us
to.
We have a few.
Weird.
So here's another. So this one, just because it was so dark. So this is again another field. I'll share it. This was another field that we were in. This one was in Springfield, and I had to enhance the lighting on it, but that was the only thing that was done with this photo. There's a tree overhead and then nothing but field.
Right here.
It looks like
a tree.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. This section right here is what was the tree, and then this section here was the only thing.
Like I said, that's where the pareidoia takes over there, and it looks like the trunk of a tree.
Yeah,
it looks like the base of that tree.
Yeah.
Yep. But the tree is actually over here. This is just the overgrowth from it.
Huh.
That was the interesting part. But again, it's nothing that we can say definitively is paranormal. It's just appears to be that way. But you know, we can't claim it that way.
No. And the thing is, you know, only we know what we captured and what was going on at the time. So,
Yeah.
But again, as long as you're not shoving it down somebody's throat, it's all good.
Right.
There,
But, yeah.
exactly. And that's just it. Like, I don't mind listening to other people's theories and what they think and how they view things, but that doesn't mean I have to necessarily see it that way either, though.
No.
You
And
know,
that's,
it's just,
I mean, again, you know what? You're on the Bill of Rights Network. Freedom of speech is one of the big things that we kind of let happen here.
Yeah,
Right.
So, that's where I'm going
Okay.
next. So you mentioned
Sorry, we're running
dowsing
out of time.
rods. Nope, we're not going to
Yes.
run out of time. So what is your theory on dowsing rods?
so do I like using dowsing rods? I do. I've had some interesting encounters with them while using them. There is always going to be the speculation, though. I mean, naturally, anytime you move your fingers or any part of your body, your brain is sending little shocks of waves to those areas in your body. And if somebody has tremors, you can't control those. You can't help it. And dowsing rods, you're meant to hold steady, loosely, so that they can cross or separate in whichever way based on what your question was for yes or no. But there's nothing to say that your little tremors, the little shocks being sent to your hand, are not causing them to vibrate one way or another. Unless you have a solid, sturdy base, you just can't.
Right.
Same thing with pendulums. When you're holding them, your brain is sending those little impulses to your fingers. There's nothing saying that those impulses that are so minute aren't causing it to go one way or another. And Ouija boards are the same way. I mean, if you're asking questions, your mind is naturally already kind of processing what you think the answer is going to be, especially yes or no. And there's nothing saying that subconsciously there's not a little bit of a guidance, a little bit of a notion that causes it to move.
What if you're at a graveyard and you're just holding the dowsing rods and other people are asking the questions about different graves where you don't know a thing about what they're asking or anything about what they're trying to get to?
There's a lot of questions.
And they got the answers that they wanted.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong.
Or
Like,
they
I love
knew
using
the
the dowsing.
answers. We didn't know. We had no clue. We're just holding the rods.
Yeah.
While someone else
those
asked
are-
the questions.
And that is a way to do a process of elimination by that. But you're still hearing. And that's where I do like the Estes method, or Estes, however you want to say it. When you're blindfolded, when you have the muffled earphones on, and other people are asking questions and you have no knowledge of it, but you're saying what you're hearing. I like that because you're able to eliminate certain things that could potentially do the power of suggestion. And you're still hearing the questions that other people are asking.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, Liz asked us to bring the dowsing rods. We didn't know why, or
at her house too.
Yeah.
Something that I noticed. So I lived in DeSoto, Missouri for a while, and DeSoto specifically has a lot of underground springs.
Yeah.
And it's water, and dowsing rods are known to be affected. That's how plumbers use them for trying to find water sources. So knowing the ground that you're on, there's nothing necessarily saying that there's not some form of water nearby or that's passing through some underground cavern.
Yep. In Atchison, everywhere. There's water everywhere, including the basement of the Sally house. Everybody's house has water. But yeah, I mean, it's unusual. I think we should try the Estes method with dowsing rods. No other stuff.
See, that would be interesting.
Do all that.
Yeah.
And just sit there and let somebody who can't hear anything.
I'll have to tell
See
my
how
team
it
when we do the McIntyre next month. We'll have to do that. I'll have to make a point of doing that because I'm excited for that location to go in.
Have you ever been there before?
I have not. I've been wanting to, and I finally get my chance.
We filmed there for a film that we did with a production crew. And then we investigated there back in May. And I got scratched there. So, but again, we're sitting there with the
doll room, and the library. Those are the two places I want to go check out on that second
The
floor.
thing is
It's the basement.
I have to tell you, we were in there when it was owned by the previous owners.
Yeah, we never even
So-
went in the basement,
so-
so they never even said anything
so-
about their basement.
Right.
really.
They never said anything about their basement when we were in there.
That's where you got scratched. And
With,
everybody, there's a few other people where you had some weird things going on too.
Now,
So-
Natalie, when you hold your dowsing rods, do you hold them straight out or down?
Slightly down when I hold them. I try to keep them as straight as possible, but they usually are a little bit at an angle.
I do mine at about a 30-degree angle because when they cross, that defies gravity.
Yep.
They're coming up.
Yep.
And it works real great that way.
Yeah, I don't think necessarily anybody ever told me about holding them at an angle. I think I just naturally kind of did that.
Most people hold them straight out.
Yeah.
Thinking, okay, it'll move,
The Mineral Springs Hotel in Alton
Right.
was the first location that I was able to use dowsing rods, and I fell in love with them because I do love using them. They're great tools. And then it was on that top floor that I saw a little boy in the window. I saw his reflection standing behind me, and when I turned around, he wasn't there.
That's another place that's got water all throughout.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Well, years ago we were at McPike, and what were we doing? Were we tour guides then, or no? I don't think we're just on a tour.
Yeah, I think we were.
But
just on
yeah,
the-
Sandy was there. Chris wasn't on that one, but
Yeah.
anyway, she was, showing dowsing rods and all that, and we'd never done them before. So she handed some out. I didn't take a pair, but when we walked around back, she said, try them out. Sandy was saying she's a shaman. She said, try them out. Well, the lady next to me, she kind of chickened out. She goes, I don't want them. She handed them to me, and I don't know. She was going through the whole thing again. So I was just standing there holding them, and she said, somebody asked a question. Somebody asked a question, and man, I felt like a little electrical shock through my fingers,
Mhm.
and they answered yes. And I didn't do anything.
And-
I was just holding them, but I could feel like a little tingle, and I thought that was
And that's
weird.
That's not uncommon. I mean, it's hard to explain when spirits are able to communicate, because for me, I do physically hear at times, but normally it's not a physical sound, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I can sense it. I can pick up on it. I can hear it. I can see it. And that's the biggest thing. Like, I can visually see what they're
And it's the
talking-
same
I
way.
was at my mom's house this past week, and I was laying down, and this little boy, 8-ish, with like kind of medium short, dirty blonde hair with blue eyes, was standing there on the side of the bed. And I brought it up to my mom because we were talking about reincarnation and people crossing over. And I was like, yeah, I go, there was a little boy who visited me the other night. And she goes, did he have dirty blonde hair and blue eyes? And I'm like, yeah, he did. And she goes, that's the third time somebody has been here and said that they've seen this little boy. And one of the questions that was brought up was a lot of women, specifically who have had miscarriages, have talked about how their child, either before birth or after the miscarriage, have come to visit them and continue to do so.
Yeah.
And can these spirits age the same way they would if they were still living? And visiting. And my mom, unfortunately, had a miscarriage a few years back, and he was going to be a little boy, and dad has blue eyes and kind of that dirty blonde hair. So there was always the question of, is this just another spirit that's attracted here, or is this potentially, her child that she lost?
Right.
Fascinating to try and hear of those stories and hear about women who talk about it. My biological mom, was here when I did a podcast for the Warren Foundation, and we were talking about it, and she kind of popped her head in, and she's like, she told me when she was in distress, I was born 6.5 weeks early. And I was in distress. I wasn't breathing, umbilical cord wrapped around everything. And she goes, you told me in the womb that you were in trouble and you needed help. She goes, and I walked into that doctor's office and said, I need help. And that's when they found out that I had no heartbeat.
Wow.
She sat there for an hour and they got one beat and rushed her in for surgery. And had they not waited and believed her, I wouldn't be here. But she goes, you're the one that told me before you were born that you were in distress and needed help.
He's called 2 or 3 times today.
Wow.
So what other type of equipment do you use and your team members use?
So I like to keep a lot of the basics, camera, camcorder, things like that, the EVP recorders. We have the SLS that I put together myself. I didn't purchase it from anyone, but I connect that to my laptop. One of those I'm not. It's okay. I don't really trust what I'm seeing most of the time because a lot of it's false positives. I am really against phone apps, highly so. I really don't like phone apps. There is only one that I actually like. It seems to work really, really well. I've gotten really accurate results from it. Excuse me. And it's created by a team over in Australia, Amy and Jared, and it's called GhostTube. It's got features that, like the SLS, that I'm not real savvy on. GhostTube. Yep. Huh.
Never heard of it.
And I really like it. A lot of my little short clips that I post up are from that. But we've got.
How much is that?
So it's a free service. You can pay, I think it's like $5 or $6 a month for unlimited storage and recording time. But you can still run the Vox on it. You can run the Spirit Box. You can run the SLS. Take pictures, video, audio.
3 different things.
Oh.
Yeah, so they have 3 of them. It's the GhostTube Vox, GhostTube, and GhostBox SLS.
I was hoping that you weren't going to say Ghost Radar because I was going to educate you quickly.
No, I've just started using GhostTube in the last year. Otherwise, I do not like ghost apps. I don't trust them as far as I can throw them. Everybody's different opinions on those. But GhostTube's the only one that I seem to really like that's really come across nicely. And it's really given some accurate responses.
Well, I'll have to look at it and see how.
Yeah, sometimes it's hit or miss. I guess like most of them. But more times than not, it's been pretty accurate.
Yeah, I'll look at the coding on it and I'll let you know what I think because that's my job. Is I do a lot of coding. So I know if it's doing any triangulation,
and a lot of because Jared, her husband, is the one that created it, because that's what he does, and he has a video explaining like how it works and what it works off, and it's the GPS that's in your phone because of the same magnetic compass, and that's the same thing.
Yeah, and I don't want GPS being used on any app.
GPS just did it.
Yeah,
that's no.
It triangulates where you are, and it can Google find you.
Right.
It's the easiest way to explain it. That's why Ghost Radar is crap.
Yeah,
it's for entertainment.
They are, and that's really with a lot of equipment, unless they're the EMF reader, things like that have been scientifically used for other scientific purposes.
Yeah.
Everything is a trial, and that's part of the research, using these different things to find out what does work and what doesn't work. You've got the Geoport box also, and things like that. But for the equipment we use, we like to keep it pretty simple. We use a DVR system. So if we have power, we'll use that for video. I actually got these new ones. They look like USB charger ports that you would charge like your phone to for the wall outlet, but they have a night vision camera and they're motion activated, so they record the room.
Yeah,
they're considered like spy cameras, but they work nicely when you're putting them in all the different rooms that you're in. If you have electric at that location, because then you can kind of see what's being triggered and what's happening when you're not in there.
Yep.
And some of them do just motion and some have continuous. So depending on what you're doing, you'll need a different SD card. But those seem to work pretty nicely.
Yeah.
And trigger objects. I love trigger objects. We've got bouncy balls. I've got the lollipops that I take for the kids. Anything that we can use. I'll put things inside of like a glass jar where wind can't affect it. Vibrations can't affect it. It'll have the like a mouse pad to help absorb any of the shock that might shake anything. We'll use things like that to try and eliminate anything that could potentially affect it.
That's good.
Yeah, I had to write that down on there.
Yeah, I've done a string inside a mason jar, like you put, or a cord of some sort inside, and you attach it to the underside of the lid, and then you can screw the top back on, and then nothing outside of it can affect it.
Right.
Inside. So if it starts swaying or anything, then it's clearly not from the wind.
But you got to be careful that whatever it's sitting on isn't moving from.
Exactly. Which is why I try to give any kind of platform that can absorb any kind of shock vibrations. I'll try and do that.
That's what she was just saying, shock and all that. So.
But I'm always up for trying new things, new pieces of equipment. I mean, I like to see what works. I really have liked that Estes method. That's been great. It had some really good results with it. But I like things that I can physically touch and see and use, things that I have control over, to try and be able to eliminate any of that tampering. And that's just always been the biggest question about those apps. I mean, yeah, I like GhostTube. Would I say it's my thing that I always go to, that it's 100% sure on the dot? No, I can't.
I would suggest that you check out EchoVox.
Okay.
Just check it out.
We've had great results with it, but it doesn't work everywhere.
Yeah, it doesn't work everywhere. It doesn't work at McPike.
McPike, not at all.
But
dowsing rods work great there.
The spirits
but
know
most
what
of
they
the
are.
spirits are well over 100 years, almost 200 years ago.
So
they don't know what this new equipment, they don't know anything about it. That's why I think
and that's the biggest thing, because you're like, go to the flashing light, go to the red dot. And I've always found the question like, what is that? Or what is this? When you're like, can you go up to the REM pod? And they're like, what is that?
Yeah, what's
and I'm
that?
like,
okay, so
the thing with the antenna, the tall thing.
Yeah.
So you're gonna know what I'm talking about here. I hate, okay, and you can tell me what you think. I hate when they assume that anytime that anything lights up, it's a negative answer, or that it's yes.
Yeah.
Do you want us to leave? And it lights up.
So I just had this conversation with somebody else. I told them, when you're asking questions, ask them multiple times, but ask them in a different format, a different way for the same question. See if you get the same answer. Or
tell them what a yes is and a no is.
Right.
If you light this up, it's yes, or it's an affirmative. And if you
or I'll get a leave or get out of here. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry you feel that way. And then I'll keep asking questions because it's like, and now obviously a lot of times that's a different story.
If I get out and I don't get out, I don't get any more answers. So I might as well go to another room at that point.
And if I stop getting responses, then I move on.
Yep.
But
it's only as soon as I go to leave, they start up again.
Right. You do have to ask the question in different ways, but you can't just assume that because you say something that it's responding to you. It could be responding to a thought that you had, the brain fart you had 5 minutes ago, because it took that long to get to the answer.
Well, and we also don't understand what their processing is. It's like when a video's buffering. You hear the audio, but the video stopped. It could be the same way. That's why we get responses to questions we asked 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Because they're not necessarily hearing it in our time.
In real time.
Not in real time.
So always being open and then going back. That's why if you log your questions, if you log the answers, you have the audio recordings, you can go back and piece it together.
That brings me to another point. So one of the places that we go, we always ask the same questions. Because of the fact that we want to see if we get the same answers every time we go.
Yep.
Do you, since you're saying that you write down the questions and you write down the answers, are you getting the same response every time you go to a certain place?
Not always.
Okay.
Not always. Sometimes I do. Sometimes they're
Oh,
slightly different, slightly alterated. Like we'll say, can you say our names? And it'll be like Amanda, Natalie, and Jared. But then when we ask it again, they might say Jared, Natalie, Amanda.
Mhm.
It's the same answers, just a different order.
Mhm.
And those are the kinds of things that I'm looking for.
Well, you know, we've got 15 minutes left of the
You got
show.
your ink box handy there, Carl?
Always, it's right there.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
This is
We can keep talking for
friend
another
Katie
2 hours.
Stafford's one of his. This thing works really good. It's like a spirit. It's like a spirit box.
It's
but
apparently green.
Oh yeah,
It is. He stuck a green deal on there.
yeah.
That way we cover up the copyright. We don't have any copyright problems.
What's really nice about this one here
You
is
can
it
understand
has a USB port
Mhm.
and an SD slot.
So our S-Box has the USB and then the SD card.
So have you ever used it where you've recorded, say you're going to a battlefield
Mhm.
cemetery and record gunfire, cannons, and all that? And as soon
Yeah.
as you can play it through this, and as soon as that plays, you can switch it and
What?
it's right on.
Interesting.
We have
Oh,
done
yeah.
that.
Play music from the era. Say you're going to a
The
ballroom,
Picnic
a
Castle,
haunted
and you're
playing, play ballroom music in it. And
Yeah,
then
so now
switch
that
it up.
I use it almost like a trigger object in a sense, but trigger sound. And I'll play those kinds of things. Like if it's children, I'll play children's songs. Like you said, castle ballroom music, anything like that that might be from that time period. If somebody shot themselves, you might have a gunshot or something.
Yeah.
Anything that might tie back that triggers the train whistle. Train whistles seem to be, I don't know about anybody else, but when I've done investigations, especially some of the older locations, I get a lot of train whistles when there's no trains nearby. I get
Right.
Because there may have been trains there in the past.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I've kind of put that at. But I've noticed that I get a lot of those residual type sounds from things that are no longer possible to be hearing there.
So one of the things that Carl said, we have done that, played battle, battle sounds from the Civil War at a house in Carthage, Missouri. And one of the guys with us felt like he got shot.
Oh yeah.
Sitting in the kitchen.
Yeah, John.
Yeah, John Long. So
he was messed
up for about half an hour.
Oh, at least.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
he was shook up.
So, my favorite location to investigate, I've done it pretty much since I first started investigating. Vallis Mines Lost History Museum in Vallis Mines, Missouri. It's just a little somewhere between DeSoto and Potosi. It's like right there in the middle. I love it. Hands down, I pretty much know everything about that history there, all the experiences, but some of my best experiences, my best evidence has come from that location. I've had a full body apparition walk up to me. I've had an axe head come off the wall through 2 rooms and land where I had been standing.
Wow.
I mean, I have had so many different experiences. They have what's called the rock room. And there were rocks from the property, from the mining on shelves around the room. And they would fly off and they'd hit the back of our legs. We'd walk out with bruises.
Damn.
When we were doing our communication session. I mean, they're some of my favorite, I guess, if you can call it that, moments. But we're actually going back in June of this year. And we're going to do limited tickets. And I'm going to take people down there so that they can see where I got my start, but also be able to experience some of that stuff. Because a lot of it is residual. I mean, you had the Civil War that came through and all these different things. So there is residual energy there. And then the main guy who lives there, he just doesn't want to leave. He's very content staying there and being in charge. So, I mean, we've helped some crossover. We've helped, there's a cemetery that we found and helped restore that was out there. You've got the Slave Cemetery, the Sophie McGuire Cemetery. I mean, there's so much. And it was this community for the mining. They still have the post office and some of the other buildings and things like that. And we've got some really interesting stuff out there.
We've not been down to the Potosi area. We've been near it. We've been down to Morse Mill.
Yep, I've done Morse Mill.
We did not investigate it. We just drove by, and I know it's in better shape now than it was then. At least that's what I hear. And we have friends that live down in Washington and in that area where.
Did you get a lot of stuff there at the Morris Mill?
Shadows, a lot of shadows, some EVP, just a very uncomfortable presence.
Yeah.
Upstairs that we got.
Knowing that a serial killer lived there doesn't help.
Well, and then there was also the lady that died there during that like music festival or whatever that they had there. And one of my previous investigators, he was there the night that it happened.
Oh.
So that was kind of a traumatic type situation. But that energy was still there. And he was able to kind of put things into context of like what happened and where it happened and things like that. So that was a different perspective that we normally don't have.
That is one thing that is really great when you have someone who was related to a location. We had a guy whose best friend had died in a jail. He hung himself. And I didn't know this, okay? It was weird. I was telling them that all this stuff happened. I had no clue.
Yeah, you didn't know.
But the spirit was telling me, and the guy's best friend was right there.
Yeah.
And he did not show up in the next investigation the next night. He was only there because his friend was there.
Yeah.
But it was the strangest thing. I told him, I said, I don't know if I should be talking about this. But the guy kept asking me questions whose friend it was, and he was validating everything I said as being 100% valid.
And those are unique moments that we don't get very often.
I know.
But it really does kind of show like we're doing something right. I mean, if we're getting these answers and this information and we have no idea about it and somebody can collaborate that, I mean, that is gold in what we do.
It's weird. And so, now we got 8 minutes left. Where can everybody find you, Natalie?
So you can find us on Facebook, Darkly Obscured Paranormal Investigations. You can do the same thing on YouTube. We have a TikTok, Darkly Obscured. I know people like short clips. And then we're getting ready here in the next few days to open up our Patreon page. It'll be under Darkly Obscured as well. My workshops are going to start transferring over that direction. But this Saturday, you can see it on Facebook at our event page for the group. And then I have all my workshops for the rest of the year already listed out.
And this next one is the how to get young people involved in the paranormal.
How to get young adults involved in the paranormal. And we'll be talking about how you can get your start and kind of get your hands on and start learning now before you ever go out on an investigation. And then in February, we'll be talking about young children having these abilities, being able to see and speak to the other side and how they can handle it and how parents can help their children.
I have had people contact me for that express purpose multiple times. And so I have a couple.
I'm surprised nobody has. For me, it is something I hold very near and dear because I got such an early start. I mean, I'm 28 now, but I got that start. I mean, it's been almost 18 years. And it's crazy. It's crazy. But that's the other thing. Like for me personally, I'm a female. We don't have nearly enough female investigators in the field to stand their ground for it. But two, I'm really young. And accountability is something that I get questioned a lot. They're like, you're just a kid yourself. Like, how do you have this? And it's because I've been involved for so long and I've learned from some of the best. But I'm not going to blow smoke and tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to.
Oh, why not?
I know. I'm sorry.
I mean, we're supposed to be fluffy.
I know.
We're not supposed to be hard-nosed paranormal investigators.
Bunnies and kitties are fluffy.
And I do have to tell you, being involved in the paranormal and being a couple is unusual.
That's rare.
It is.
Is your fiance, is he involved in this at all?
He's a behind the scenes kind of man.
Okay, well.
He does his own thing. He's got his own side hobbies and jobs that he does. But when I need somebody or equipment and things like that, he's right there to help.
Okay, well, that's more than most couples.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it is. And I mean, when we first met, he was very vanilla, very green into what we do. And I just kind of throw him in head first. It's like, if you swim, you swim. I mean, it is what it is.
If you die, I'll investigate it.
He's not too thrilled at me being a bit of a beacon. And when they show up here at the house and start doing things,
Oh yeah.
and then I'm like, take a number, sit down, I'll get to you when I get to you. And he's like, can you just tell them to go away? Can you just like deal with them and send them on their way?
It's a weird thing when you. So long story short, I mean really short because we only have 5 minutes.
Yeah.
He didn't know that I saw spirits until after we were married about 11 years.
Yep.
And we had
Never talked about
we
it.
had a haunted house, and I would talk about this kid in our house, and he was just like, okay.
Yeah.
Until one day one of our kids said something, and then we were at a car dealership.
She was what, 4 years old? 4 or 5?
And I never said anything in front of our kids.
So I wasn't old enough to lie yet.
Yeah, kids say the darndest things.
I said, no, wait a minute. You saw what?
Yeah. And I mean, and I started seeing the kid right after we moved in, and it wasn't like he was a small child; he was a teenager.
Yeah, and
But
then
we were playing.
I get passerbys all the time, and I'll be laying in bed trying to go to sleep, and then all of a sudden there's like somebody there, and I'm like, it is too late to do this. Like I'm already like, go away. I'll deal with you later.
Yep. Hey there, Jeff.
Hey, Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
But yeah, I mean, we had one time somebody had gotten murdered here in Kansas City, and up in
Oh,
Overland
wow.
Park,
Yeah.
and
They were buried,
they
dropped
were,
off down
yeah,
here.
dropped
down
off
the
in a
road.
ditch at 311th Street.
Mhm.
And we're, my daughter sends me a message and she goes, they found a body down on 311th. And I said, well, it's not your dad. And so I said, it's not your dad. We had an argument that morning. and
Well, they were just recently looking for that one lady that's been missing. I think Amanda, I think was her name. But here in Topeka, they raided the guy's house. She had been kidnapped, and there was reports here, and they've had last month, I think it was, there were roping things off and searching for her, and yeah, all kinds of stuff going on. But then you had the BTK killer down in
Wichita. Yeah, believe me, I read about
What
him.
part of Topeka are you in?
southeast. So let's see. I'm near.
Southeast? Okay.
Just
Yeah.
a park or something
Southeast.
close by.
Yeah,
'Cause I don't even know where you live.
No, I
There's
I
Gage
just asked
Park
what part.
that's nearby. The Capitol.
I go to
like,
Topeka every
3
week.
blocks over.
almost.
Yeah, the Capitol's like 3 blocks over.
Oh,
So-
okay. Yeah. I know where you're
Yeah,
at.
I'm not far from it. The other place that I'm waiting for, they're renovating it right now, but I'm on the top of the list to get in is Constitutional Hall.
Yeah. And we've heard about it. We've never been there.
Yeah.
Going in, I just gotta wait for them to make it safe.
Right. And they used to do a whole bunch of investigations there
Yep.
back about 10, 12 years ago. But
Yeah,
that's a
I
long
called
time
him when we first got here, and he's like, I wish you'd called me a couple weeks ago because we just stopped letting people in.
Yeah.
And I have to wait till we finish renovating everything.
So, but to finish the story, when we were watching the news later on that night, I had told my daughter had said, I sent her, this spirit came to her, and she goes, she was wearing a Papa John's shirt, and she goes, I told her to go see you. So the spirit came up to see me, and I saw it too. And so when we saw it on the news, it was like, that's her. And we both said it at the same time.
Yeah.
So it
Jeff's
was
question
weird.
about the Bel Air house, I have heard of it. I have not had the chance to investigate it, but I would like to. I just got invited out to the Hell House for an event that they're doing out there. I don't know if I'll make it to that one, but we're going to be in Tennessee in May, I think it is.
Is that the paranormal conference?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were invited to that one as well. We probably won't be going since we're moving.
Tennessee.
Yeah, there's an investigation also at the
Gatlinburg.
West Virginia
May?
Penitentiary. We were
Oh, I didn't
invited to. There's also a women's only para retreat.
Yeah, they've had that for years.
Yeah, so I was invited for that, but I was asked to
nice.
be potentially a speaker and
You identify as a
tour
woman?
guide. So
Oh,
I
was
just haven't
that
heard back on that one yet.
Yeah.
Ron, go- Ron,
Me and Carl are up for that one.
Yeah, we're up.
Well, thank you so much for coming
No
on.
problem. Thank
And
you guys.
we really appreciate it. And I hope you had a good time. And I hope that sometime you'll come back on.
Oh,
And,
absolutely.
keep in touch, and maybe I can help you with some of those things that you're doing. And before we
Absolutely.
leave,
If you guys wanted to come out for the McIntyre one, that would be great too.
okay. Well, like I said, I'll have to look and see what's in that. What in that February 23rd?
Yeah, it's a Thursday because she's
Yeah.
booked on all of her weekends.
That's my dad's birthday.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't snow.
Yeah, I hope it
we
doesn't
got good
snow.
weather.
We've had people get
I
snowed in
mean-
up there.
Yeah, February's hit and miss, but
At least it's not outside, and at least they have heat.
have you been? Yeah, have you been there
No,
before?
no,
Not yet.
Oh, really? You'll
When
love
we
it.
did Hotel Josephine. We were there 14 hours at Hotel Josephine,
Yeah.
and their heater went out. We had no heat the
Yeah.
entire time, and it was like negative 20 something, I think, that night.
Nah, you'll
was-
love McIntyre. You're gonna have fun there.
I'm excited. I can't wait.
Bring
Yeah,
bring
that'll
bring
be fun.
snacks for overnight because everything closes after 11.
Yep.
We'll do.
Even
I'll
Casey.
stock up on my Twizzlers. We'll be good.
Yeah, but she at least has a kitchen and a fridge, so
That's good.
we got that.
Yeah, you'll like
So,
it.
I hope everybody will join us next Monday when the Paranormal Pride comes back from the little hiatus that it had. My guest next week will be Dr. Mary Barrett. She is going to be a speaker at the Haunting at the Mill, but she's also somebody I had on before, and we had to cut the show short because of something that had happened at the time. But she's in Tennessee, and it'll be interesting to hear from her. She's got all kinds of experiences. So join us next Monday night at 7 p.m. Central for the Paranormal Pride. And you catch me here also with Ron and Carl every Tuesday night at 5 p.m. Central. And go for it, Carl.
And check out all the shows over on the Billerites Network. We got a pin post at the top that tells you a list of all our shows we have on our network. So again, I want to thank everybody in the chat room for coming to the show tonight. Natalie, thank you again
You
for
guys.
coming in. It was very nice to meet you.
It was nice to
and
meet you.
stuff. But it's time to end the show. So everybody just join us next week here on Paranormal Nation Radio. Not so normal. Have a good evening.
Stay spooky, guys.
Night, everyone.